I'm Mark Small and welcome to another edition of SEN Unplugged. Now, in today's edition, we're going to look at how you go about writing a request for an EHC needs assessment. The reason we're doing that is for a video is I got a telephone call last week from a parent who's telling me they'd spent £4,000 on a solicitors to put forward a request to their local authority. Now, I don't know what the hourly rates were, but I'm not going to embarrass that law firm on here. But to charge a parent £4,000 to make a request for an EHC assessment is unbelievable. So it shouldn't cost that much at all. And in this video, you're going to learn how to do it for free. So I hope you enjoy it. Let's get to it. So just in thinking about making a request for EHC needs assessment, you should have already watched our video on the EHC needs assessment process. In this video, we're actually just going to go a step further and actually draft the request for you so you can see what it perhaps looks like. Now, there's loads of different precedents on other websites that people have come up with. They're not too bad, but I don't think they're comprehensive enough, and they don't give the local authority enough information, in my opinion, to be able to process that request as effectively as perhaps they might. So this is just my view as to what should be in a request for EHC needs assessment. Right, so let's get on and try and draft it. So what are the key things to do first of all? Well, number one, we need to find out where this has got to be sent. So what you need to do is contact the local authority. You can do it online or you can give them a phone call and look for the details of the SEN department. And there will be a designated contact in the SEN team that processes requests for EHC needs assessment. Find out the name of that person and address your request to them. My view is to send the request via email so that you can then track it and you can then make sure that it's responded to within the statutory timescales. And just to recap, from making your request, the local authority must process it and reach a decision within 6 weeks. Right, so let's draft the example. So we're going to send it to the SEN officer who's responsible, and I'm just going to abbreviate that there for now. We need to insert your child's name, and we need to insert their date of birth. We need to insert your home address, and if we know it, we need to insert the NHS number of the child. You get the NHS number when you're registered with a medical practice. The reason why that's quite helpful to put it in the request is when the local authority seeks advice from the designated medical officer who represents the health service, that NHS number will disclose to them which services are known to your child and therefore which information may be passed to the local authority. So if you've got that information, that's helpful. We then get into the body of the actual letter itself. So the first thing we do is, very straightforward, we simply state we're first making a request for an EHC needs assessment. So let's do that. So there you go, very straightforward. You tell the local authority why you're contacting them and what you're asking them to do. So in this case, we're formally asking them to initiate the EHC needs assessment, and that's in accordance with sections 36 of the Children and Families Act. What we're then going to do is provide some information that will help the local authority to pull information together about your child. So we're going to go to the school first. So Mark is currently in year whatever it may be at secondary school. It could be in a primary school, so you would change it accordingly. Then you put the name of the secondary school or your primary school or whatever it may be, the name of the educational setting. And you insert the address. What you do, the relevant contact at the school is the SENCO, so the special needs coordinator. Let's just make up something, Mrs. Warren. And it might be that you have her email address, so put it in. Normally that's available. It's always advisable to discuss with schools that you're going to make a request for an assessment so that they know that it's coming. But there you go. So in your letter, you're then identifying that at the very beginning, which makes it, as I said, easier for the local authority to follow. So we've put in the name of the school. And then we identify the reasons why we believe an EHC needs assessment should be undertaken, and we list them. So these are some examples. So what we're basically doing here in the request for EHC needs assessment is we're identifying what we think are the special educational needs. So if we look at this, so I believe Mark requires an EHC needs assessment for the following reasons. And so we identify the difficulties that we think he's having at school. So in this case, I've just used examples of he's got learning difficulties. Perhaps he's got a difficulty in this case with literacy. He's got some social difficulties, so he's struggling to access social groups, and he's finding the demands of mainstream education too much, and that's causing him stress and anxiety. And I think also, obviously, he's not making progress, and therefore he's not reaching his potential. So and you would do something similar. So of course, every request is very different and very individual to the child. So this is just an example of some of the things that you'd be capturing. And then that's not the end of it. And then we would identify the following. So this is very, very important that we put this in. So we identify the support that the school's put in place. Now, you should have this because you should have been involved in the early stages of your son or daughter being put on the SCN register in identifying, and putting in place specific support and interventions for them. So you should know what's happening. So we list them. Mark School have taken purposeful steps to meet his needs, including the following. So Mark has been assessed by an educational psychologist and recommended strategies have been implemented. Mark has received a literacy-based intervention on a daily basis, but has not shown sufficient progress. Mark is receiving shared teaching assistant support in all literacy-based subjects, totaling and so what, as I said, what you're doing here is you're identifying what support the school's put in place, and if possible, identifying why it hasn't worked. So in this case, Mark has not made progress what is interest being in place for him. Then we identify the next bit. So that just identifies why he might have a special need. Then we need to identify why he needs more support than that. So what I'm saying here in the request is that, Mark needs more specialist provision. He's going to need smaller classes, full-time teaching assistant support, and specialist literacy teaching from teachers that have specialist qualifications. And we're going to then make the point, because I think it's important to. So this support is beyond the resources that are available to Mark's school. In addition, I believe that an EHC needs assessment would help to clarify Mark's difficulties and the special provision he requires. There we are. So the letter has almost been constructed in 3 different parts. We're making the request. So we're making the request under the Children and Families Act, Section 36. That identifies that it's a formal request. We're providing details of Mark's school and the appropriate contact at the school. We're providing details of Mark's learning difficulties as we see them. We're providing details of the support that he's had and the support that we think he requires. And then finally, what we're going to do is we're just going to give the local authority some more information. So what we're going to do here is list all the available evidence that we've got. So we will say something like, we're going to put in the information from the school. So if your child is on the SEN register and is receiving support, they should have something like a school provision plan. Now, there's nothing statutory in this regard because the school's got flexibility as to how it meets your child's needs if they don't have an EHC plan. So you put in whatever is the equivalent. So it could be an individual education plan. I'm used to seeing school provision plans. We have school reports, and we put the last 3 years. Then we got professional reports. And list them. List the professional reports. And that's it. The local authority then has got all the information that it needs. Job done. And then to close the letter, it's very simple. I understand that the local authority has 6 weeks in which to decide whether to initiate a formal EHC needs assessment. I look forward to hearing from you. Yours sincerely. And that is it. Very straightforward. This is not something that should cost you a lot of money. It certainly shouldn't cost £4,000. And if I run it back from the very beginning, just to give you an idea, the structure of the letter, obviously I've put it in larger font type so you can see it, but so the very beginning of the letter, so to the SEN team, the child's name and the date of birth, your home address, your NHS number. In fact, you probably would put in here as well, actually, thinking about it, a contact number. Just put that in. Just that. What we want to do with this letter is make it easy for the local authority to say, yes, we're going to carry out an assessment. And in my experience, a lot of requests are refused because they don't have sufficient information in that 6-week period. And a hell of a lot of time is wasted. So hopefully this will help. So what we're going to do, look, first paragraph, we're identifying why we're writing to the local authority, and it's about carrying out an EH needs assessment. We'll tidy that up a bit and abbreviate it, EHC. We're then identifying the educational setting that Mark's currently attending and his year group. So in this case, we're in secondary school. You would put the name of the secondary school and give the address, and you provide the relevant contact detail at the school. You then set out, and this is very important, why you think he needs an EHC needs assessment. So in this particular situation, I've identified Mark's got literacy difficulties, he's socially isolated, he's finding the curriculum too difficult to manage, and he's not meeting his potential, as his school reports show he's not making progress. We then identify that what the school have done. So in this case, we say Mark's had an EPC him, which you would expect as part of what they call the assess, plan, do, review. The strategies have been recommended and implemented by the school. They've not worked, basically, and he needs more support. And then we list at the bottom, finally, what support we think he needs. So what we're thinking about here, just to reiterate from an earlier video, the EHC plan comes into play because the school needs more resources than they have. And the EHC plan provides those additional resources. So we're going to actually say here, this is why I think Mark needs an assessment, because he needs more specialist provision, and that includes small classes, full-time teaching assistant support, and specialist literacy teaching from staff that have had appropriate training and qualifications. And we say, we just put it straight. This support is beyond the resources that are available to Mark's school. And it's obvious. We then identify, I believe, that why do you want the assessment? Well, I believe it will help to clarify Mark's difficulties and the specialist provision he requires. That's exactly what it should do. And then we put in place any of relevant evidence that will help to support your request. So school provision plans, school reports, professional reports. And then you give the local authority a shot across its bow that you know the law. I understand that the local authority has 6 weeks in which to decide whether to initiate a formal EH needs assessment. I look forward to hearing from you. That's it. So this is a very, very basic request for an EH needs assessment, but it does what it needs to do. So that is it. That's what you need to do to kick off the EH needs assessment process. It's very straightforward. It shouldn't take you too long. And it most definitely shouldn't cost you a lot of money. If you feel that you need support to do the request, then by all means access that support. But it shouldn't be an expensive process. The SEN system is one that was designed to enable parents of all abilities and all means to be able to access it. And just to kick it off, the process is relatively straightforward. You just need to know what to include in your request and where it needs to go. So that's how you put together a request for an EH needs assessment. It's very straightforward, and hopefully this video gives you the confidence to be able to make your own written requests and not have to spend a lot of money seeking advice. As ever, if you enjoyed the video, comment, like, subscribe, share. I'm off to watch the football now, so let's make SEN great again. Until next time, bye-bye.